Hello and good evening. Welcome into the PHLY Eagles podcast, live from the Xfinity Mobile Studio, presented by our friends Bet365, where it's never ordinary, and Ashley. Thank you to our presenting sponsors. As always, Jamie Lynch in with Rich Hofmann. Rich, it was the finale of HBO's Hard Knocks tonight. Pretty much 85-90% of the episode had to deal with your Philadelphia Eagles.
So did it have to?
I know. Well, the episode opened and they were talking about the Eberflus firing, the Blue hire in D.C., and then Kafka kind of staking his claim for the job. And I was like, oh, I guess they're going to just run like a normal episode. No. Quickly after that, it became the Philadelphia Eagles episode. But yeah, so it pretty much opens the episode, and, you know, other teams aside, it starts with a Nick Sirianni team meeting where he talks about, you know, not intentionally saving the best for last, but how important it is to play their best football. And then it quickly divulges into a Saquon Barkley practice field diatribe talking about watching the movie Whiplash to fire him up. What were some of your early observations there?
Strong start. And Jamie, I got to say, when you gave me the text for tonight's show, I was not looking forward to this because we talked about this last week. If the Eagles were going to lose, I was not going to enjoy watching this episode. I got to say, it was a pretty strong episode. Now, did I like the game parts? No, I did not like the game parts at all. But it starts with Saquon has a montage of sort of how, I mean, so he starts by talking about Whiplash, which again, great movie about the pursuit of excellence, not my tempo, you know, J.K. Simmons, Miles Teller, all that. Good movie.
It did give me a little motivation to rewatch it because I haven't seen it since it like basically came out. So I might run it back with Whiplash in the near future.
I did think it was interesting to they sort of mix that in with Saquon watching Whiplash. And also him talking about how it's like, it's okay to be loose. It's okay to be, you know, cool. And I think that's absolutely fine. I don't think that's like why the Eagles lost the game. But my takeaway from Whiplash is not like, let's be loosey-goosey during a week. Like not like you can have fun while also working hard. That's not my main takeaway. That said, I enjoyed the Saquon montage. I enjoyed him and Dallas Goedert talking about Goddard's ACT and how street smart he was. So it was a good start to the ep.
Yeah, I thought the him and Goddard back and forth was very funny, where he was like, I'm street smart, and Saquon's like, the hell you are, from South Dakota. That was a good little back and forth between them. And, Rich, the note I wrote down there was a statement by Dallas Goedert, a statement by Saquon Barkley in their conversation that anyone can build a house. I don't think that's true, Saquon. I most certainly could not build a house like Dallas Goedert claims he could. Could Rich Hofmann build a house?
I couldn't, but you know, that's just me. But hey, like if Saquon thinks he can, I'm sure he probably can. No.
Yeah, he said anybody can build a house. I don't think it's that easy, Saquon. Then the conversation shifts to Jalen Hurts and the stories about growing up with his dad, his kind of personal mantras. And the one that stood out to me there was effort is free. I do think that's a great kind of saying for life in general. But it took you a little bit inside the mind of Jalen Hurts and his leadership mantras and beliefs, and I thought it was a really good look into Hurts, and you know, I think that's all genuine. I think that's deep in his core, and that's what he believes, and that's how he runs the quarterback position and the franchise.
Good Jalen sort of training montage too on the cold turf at the NovaCare complex as well. Like you can tell it's a January day and it's him and the quarterbacks are out there after it's over working on some of their snaps, their passes, all of that stuff. So I'm sure in 15 years when the Jalen Hurts myth making and he commissions his Last Dance documentary, hopefully after he wins 3 more Super Bowls or whatever, that'll be part of it. The other thing that I thought was very funny about that little stretch of the show was he was talking with Nick Sirianni, like they were clearly running plays, but Jalen was out and he's sort of standing next to him. Nick Sirianni, he claps it up and he says, "Nice play, Quez," after it's over. So anyway, I got a big kick out of that.
That is pretty funny. The next scene of the episode goes into the Nick Sirianni house. And you get a little personal family insight into Mrs. Sirianni and their 3 children. I thought it was very cool just kind of seeing him being a dad and broing it up in the basement with the kids. My 2 observations from that was seems like a lovely family. That's not one of the observations, but the basement bar, pretty sweet. And those children having the opportunity to grow up with the tennis ball machine in their basement with the gymnastics pad and a huge beanbag to dive into. I mean, that's elite children basement living right there. Those kids are doing it right.
Nick Sirianni seems like a fun dad. I mean, they have the big basement, and it is funny that Nick Sirianni, like, look, is this little slice that we saw on Hard Knocks representative of what he's like all the time? I don't know. My guess is it's not too far away though. And he does 2 games with them. One, throw this football as hard as you can at me, and I'm going to do it to you too, my 10-year-old kid. And then he gets the tennis ball machine out, which, as you said, pretty sweet to have a tennis ball machine, but they're doing wide receiver drill. So yeah, I mean, it seems like he's a fun dad, but he's also pretty focused in turning them into wide receivers as well.
Yeah, he was like, "Come on, get those arms up. Let's go." Like, no, can't be stagnant. Get those arms up. Get moving. I thought that was pretty cool to see the Sirianni household there. Then got to give a shout out, a little inside look into Exciting Mike's with a little HBO representation. Shout out Brenna and Julia, who behind the scenes helped produce that show. Very cool to see Coop and Reed in the inside look into Exciting Mike's there. Quick shout out to the guys. That was cool.
That was cool. And then they sort of in that montage, they talk about, they show a little Clint Hurt and Christian Parker as well. Yeah, so it was good to see those guys kind of previewing the game. It was a little bit tough, like, to see the preview of the game and the things that the defense did not do in the game. I feel like we've been focused on the offense over the past few days, and rightfully so, but yeah, I wouldn't say the defense was anything close to an A in that game with the pregame talking points they were talking about. But shout out Exciting Mike's for sure.
Yeah. And then we got to the bald eagle and a little inside look into Zach Bond. Adorable child at the Super Bowl picture that was, I think I did an audible "aw" on my couch. Very cool to see his wife and the storybook he made. My takeaway from them was just how genuinely happy they are to have become a Philadelphia Eagles family, and like how everything has just been like kind of a storybook for them while here.
Very nice gesture by his wife. I don't think many pro athletes have a storybook year like Zach Bond did. So yeah, seems like a wonderful family. He obviously seems like a wonderful guy. I don't think I had seen, Jamie, the footage of Bond after the Super Bowl, just being like, hugging her and being like, "I got a pick in the Super Bowl." That was cool to see. And then the other thing, he talked about how much he loves being bald. He said, "I am a bald guy, and I have embraced that." So I think that's great.
The bald eagle, the bald eagle, the bald eagle.
Too, so,
yeah. Zach Bond bringing sexy back to baldness out there. That was good work by him for the community, doing it for the culture. All right, then we get to the actual game footage, and it continues Zach Bond family life right into him on the field, and you hear him go. I forget who he's talking to at the moment. He goes, "Oh, they're getting active over there. You're getting active over there," and it cuts to midfield where Quinyon and Marcus Epps are smack talking with the 49ers at midfield and kind of set the table for the game and the physicality I think the 49ers intended to bring to Philadelphia. False
and then he asks,
or not.
Yeah, and then Bond asks Marcus Epps when he's running back, what's happening over there? And he's like, just some bleep talking, So it's good.
Yeah. Right away, cuts to Vic Fangio up in the booth, clearly distraught at the first or second play of the game being an explosive, the DeMarcus Robinson game. How about it? Vic looked pissed.
He did, and I feel like, I know you guys talked about it a little bit on the show the other day, but Your guy Quinion, I mean, what a crazy game for him. He has the worst series of his career, like the worst 3-play stretch of his career. The McCaffrey catch, that was actually pretty good coverage. That was just a nice play. But the other two, not great. The long catch and then the red zone catch. And then he's lights out the rest of the game. And it was funny though, Jamie. Nick talked before the game about the explosive play battle and how important that's going to be. And the Eagles got smoked in the explosive play battle. And that's not all just on the defense. Like the offense did not really provide us with any of those. But what a roller coaster for Quinion for sure.
Yeah, and then it shows the offensive possession where they go down and tie it up right away. The Mike Quick gets the shout out talking about the amazing Kevin Patullo red zone offense. And they answer. And then all of a sudden we're into Saquon mode. And Rich, this was the most painful part for me, was because Saquon was cutting them up in the first half. And to just know watching that it disappeared and Saquon was getting hit 3 yards in the backfield the entire second half, it was like an offensive line night and day from the first half to the second half.
I got to be honest. The game was 2 days ago. I forgot that the second touchdown drive was 94 yards. 94 yards, man. I mean, and to have a 94-yard drive in a game where it's just offensive ineptitude for at least 2/3 of it is pretty crazy. And yeah, he looked great early on. That one cut back on the right sideline, that was an awesome run as well. So look, Saquon, he didn't get a second Super Bowl. Had a little bit of a rough year. Not really his fault, as you saw in that montage. He still got plenty of juice, but he did get a couple of nice montages on HBO's Hard Knocks. So it's not going home empty-handed.
And then they went to the tush push conversation, and our other coworker, BG, I think was quoted. I wrote down, "We ain't run that mug in a minute." I thought that was pretty funny. BG's just always talking. It's good stuff.
I take notes during these episodes as well, and I literally wrote, "We ain't ran that mug in a minute" as well. But he said, I forgot what the second thing he said. He was like, it felt rejuvenated or something. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. And by the way, special live edition of the Unblocked with Brandon Graham podcast this Thursday at 11 a.m., where Bo Wolf and Brandon Graham will be live in studio. So you make sure you want to check out that one to get BG's insights on the end of the year. And then one of the more interesting nuggets from the episode, Rich, was Zach Bond immediately owning up to the CMC touchdown. In real time, I kind of looked at it like, man, what did Reed Blankenship do there? Like, it looked like, as a safety, there's usually not people behind you. And it looked like, to me, to the naked eye in the moment, that Reed Blankenship just let him run by him, and like it was just like a brain fart. But immediately Zach Bond on the field is like, that's on me, and you could just kind of see his body language, like realizing he made a mistake. He was like, I lost him. That hurt a little bit.
It did. It could have been one of those defensive coverages where he's just responsible for McCaffrey at all times. Yeah. I think that would kind of explain what happened to Reed on that play. Maybe he just was like, sure, it's Zach's responsibility. And Zach Bond is a guy who we've seen plenty of times just run with not just running backs, but tight ends and receivers down the field. Yeah. So he's capable of it. So yeah, that definitely hurt.
Yeah. And then the rest of the game footage was just kind of numbness on my end. And then we get into the locker room, the Nick Sirianni kind of speech to the team, using it for motivation next year. He loves everybody in there. That was what I expected, but I think the interesting part was who followed him immediately, and it's somebody that really emerged as a leader on the team this year, Jordan Davis. I think kind of was a little cherry on top about his kind of storybook year. It didn't end in a team storybook fashion, but, could have been a Pro Bowler, could have been an All-Pro, kind of lived up to his first-round draft selection finally, had an incredible year, and for him to kind of break down the team there at the end, I thought was pretty emblematic of his status in that locker room.
I feel like I read somewhere that he's been doing that more this year, especially after losses. I think I read that.
That one, EJ Smith on allphly.com.
I believe it was. Which go ahead, go check out EJ's writing. Great year for Jordan Davis. Feels like he's taking the torch from Brandon Graham, and frankly, his story. Yeah. Hopefully, it mirrors Brandon Graham, and that he's here for a long time. Kind of a slow start as a basically picked around the same spot too, right? Jordan Davis was
Yeah.
like around that 12 range. So was, I think,
I think it
BG
was
as well.
12-13 range.
And then has a great career, but is also a team leader and somebody the entire fan base loves. I will say, I know what Nick said was cliche, but the good news as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, like him saying, we're going to learn from this, we're going to be better off for this. It doesn't feel great in the moment, and I'm not forgiving what happened, or I'm not completely excusing what happened this year, but this organization, this franchise, they do learn from their mistakes. So that was good. Last thing I wanted to say, a little Easter egg too, after I think Jordan Davis broke him down. I think Howie Roseman was dapping up. I think it was Jalen Phillips was the first guy, and it seems like that might have been the first guy he went to. So if anybody wants to Zapruder that footage, go take a look at that.
That's a good catch by you there. I missed that. Then we transition to the next morning. It's the end of the year meeting where Sirianni's talking to the team and basically says, we can use this, and I have no doubt we'll be back. And I thought the interesting thing, it almost looked staged. I am not saying it was staged, but like there is an awareness of cameras rolling. The press conference room, team meeting room empties out, and Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts have a one-on-one off to the side there, where fake or not, it looks like they have a pretty good relationship the way they were carrying themselves.
Yes. If that, even if that was staged, if they agreed to do that, I feel like their relationship probably is in an okay place. You had Jalen's comments on Patullo yesterday. He made sure to say, I trust Howie, Nick, and Mr. Lurie. He could have not said Nick there as well. Yeah, I mean, I think that was our reward, Jabe, for sitting through this episode where a lot of bad stuff happened. The final scene, I thought the same thing. Was it staged? And then the second thing I was looking at, because you can see Jalen leaning on the wall, and then there's a guy sitting in that first seat. And I guess I just wasn't thinking. I was like, is that Goddard? Like who is that? Like you could tell it was a white guy. And then I was like, oh, it's Sirianni. And then they have the cinematic will be back at the end of it. I enjoyed it. Hey, if I'm going to sit through that for 45 minutes, I'll enjoy the end of that and just hold on to hope that they will be back.
Yeah. And my final observation, Rich, was something that didn't happen in the episode, which I'm a little surprised by. I'm a little surprised they didn't touch on the outside noise and the Kevin Patullo kind of buzz. That was, I think, in most people's opinion, inevitable. I'm just surprised they didn't, like, even Liev Schreiber at the end, like, and what does this mean for offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo and the Eagles offense entering the offseason? They didn't really seem to touch on it at all. They could have played, a WIP, hoagie mouth montage of people yelling this and that. I was a little surprised they didn't touch on it at all. That was the final note.
Meanwhile, you have Schottenheimer and Jerry being like, yeah, we fired Eberflus. We really like him, but the defense was terrible this year. Yeah, so it definitely quite a difference between those two.
Yeah, but ultimately, I'm a Hard Knocks fan. I've loved the series. I've fallen off in recent years in watching every single iteration of it, but when it has to do with the Philadelphia Eagles, I paid attention. I enjoyed it overall as the series. Obviously, the ending of the year sucked, but I still think the show is great, and the insight you get and the footage you get is phenomenal stuff. So I think HBO did a great job with the NFC East edition of Hard Knocks this year.
Agreed. I was surprised because I haven't really watched the training camp ones as much in the past few years, I would say. God, we're going on, I don't know, 20 of these at this point. So it feels like you've sort of seen it already. But the in-season one, and also I will say I'm the biggest fan of the Giants off-season one. That might be my favorite one ever. But the NFC East in-season one, yeah, rough one to end here. But yeah, I think it was good. I was happy I watched all the episodes.
Nice. Well, thank you to Lindsay behind the scenes for producing this quick reaction pod. Thanks to our friends at Bet365 and Ashley for bringing you this pod. If you can do us a favor and hit that thumbs up button before you get out of here. He is Rich Hofmann. I'm Jamie Lynch. The Eagles show will be back 2:00 tomorrow. And obviously, Rich, the attention is quickly going to shift to who's the new OC going to be. I think it's most definitely somebody from outside the organization, clearly, somebody that's probably had some experience either being an offensive coordinator or a head coach. Would you like, since we're not on together this week, would you like to close and let the people know who is officially Rich Hofmann's guy? Are you stamping anyone early in the process, or are you open to several?
I'm not stamping anybody, but I will say, and I'm going to listen to Fran. I'm going to listen to a bunch of people. Although Fran was, I listened to the show earlier today, and he was like, I'm not looking for just any one specific guy. You know, if somebody has conviction and can bring in their ideas, you could play football a bunch of different ways and it can work. Jamie, this might be a dumb reason, but
I love dumb reasons.
Brian Daboll, I don't think is going to get hired again if the Eagles have a good year. Like, let's say the Eagles win the Super Bowl and they have a similar year to the one that Kellen Moore had, and they rediscover their running game. Brian Daboll, he did not do great with the Giants, but had bad quarterback play for a lot of it. Has a pre-existing relationship with Jalen Hurts. But my big thing is that I don't want a guy to get hired right away. And it's so hard with these offensive coordinators. If you have a guy who has never been a head coach and that guy wins or takes you to the Super Bowl as your offensive coordinator, you're going to lose that guy right away. So if you told me that Brian Daboll wouldn't get hired again, at least for a few years, a few cycles of him coordinating the Eagles offense to high levels, I think I would take that. So that's sort of where my head's at, but you could talk me into a Mike McDaniel. You could talk me into a Stefanski if he doesn't get the head coaching jobs as well. There's a lot of good options here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think my official guy is, I don't think Mike McDaniel, to your point, I think if he's OC here, he's gone a year later. I'm team Daboll. The other name that I think it got thrown into the ring by Diana Rossini today is also Clay Kubiak, who comes from Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. So if he has a little bit of a Shanahan offensive scheme to him, I could be talked into that. But again, another young guy. How quickly is he gone if it works out well here for him?
If they have a good year and his last name's Kubiak and he's from the Shanahan tree, I don't know, man. It could be great next year. Don't get me wrong. He could be great, but you might be doing this again. By the way, last thing I want to say, Jalen Hurts, I looked this up. I think if you use the year that Lane Kiffin left and Steve Sarkisian took over at Alabama, I think this is 13 play callers in 12 years for Jalen Hurts.
It's absolutely insane.
That's why I want Daboll.
I think that has to be real consideration in the hiring process is, can we get somebody for 2 years here? They're good enough without being great that they're going to get poached, and just some stability. Maybe Daboll's the guy. We'll see.
We'll see.
It'll be very interesting offseason.
The only time that he had a coordinator for 2 years in a row was Steichen, and that was his best year, that second year. So,
yeah. So make sure you're tuning in every day here, 2 o'clock for the Eagles show. But we got Anthony Gargano in the morning from 9 to 11. We got noon Phillies coverage. We got Sixers at 3 p.m. and every single post game. We got Flyers at 4 p.m. and every single post game. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Make sure you're checking out our shows. And as always, you can check out the website and all the great writing at allphly.com. Thank you to Lindsay. Thank you, Rich, and everybody in the chat. Thank you for hanging out with us. We will see you soon here on the PHLY Eagles podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.